The crystal wine glass shattered against the wall behind my head, sending shards of glass tinkling across the mahogany floor. The Christmas dinner table fell silent, all eyes darting between Vivian's reddening face and mine. "I won't have some gold-digging nobody destroy everything I've built," Vivian spat, her perfectly manicured finger pointing at me like a weapon. "I'm Mallory, and this was my third Christmas with the Collins family. The first two hadn't been much better, but at least nothing had been thrown at my head." "Mother, please," Brett, my husband, started to say, but his voice wavered and died under Vivian's glare. He reached for my hand under the table, but I pulled away. His silence hurt more than any flying glass. "I earned my place at this table," I said, standing slowly. My voice was steady, even as my hands shook. "I have an MBA from—" "Oh yes, your precious MBA," Vivian interrupted, waving her hand dismissively, "which Brett's father paid for, if I remember correctly." "That's not true," I shot back. "I worked 3 jobs to put myself through school. I never took a dime from this family." Anna, our newest hire at the company, shifted uncomfortably in her seat. She shouldn't have had to witness this, but Vivian had insisted on a proper family Christmas dinner with all the employees. "Vivian!" Rodney, our family realtor, cleared his throat. Perhaps you should stay out of family matters," Vivian snapped. She turned back to me, her pearl necklace catching the light from the chandelier. "You waltz in here with your dreams of starting a business, filling my son's head with ridiculous ideas about eco-friendly packaging. The Collins family has been in real estate for generations. We build things. We don't play around with recycled cardboard." I felt the familiar burn of anger rising in my chest. "The world is changing, Vivian. Maybe if you opened your eyes." "The world may be changing, but standards aren't." She lifted her chin. "Brett needs a wife who understands her place, not some ambitious little girl playing entrepreneur." "Mother!" Brett finally found his voice, but it was too late. I grabbed my purse and pushed back from the table. "Thank you for dinner, Vivian. It was lovely as always." My voice dripped with sarcasm as I headed for the door. "Mal, wait!" Brett called after me. I heard his chair scrape against the floor. "Let her go!" Vivian commanded. "She'll come crawling back when she realizes she can't make it on her own." I paused at the doorway, turning back to face her. The massive Christmas tree loomed behind her, dripping with ornaments that probably cost more than my first car. "You know what, Vivian? You're right about one thing. The Collins family does build things, but so do I. And I'm going to build something that will make you choke on every nasty word you've ever said to me." I slammed the front door hard enough to rattle the stained glass panels. The cold December air hit my face as I fumbled for my phone, dialing the one person who would understand. "Charlie, you up for a drink? I need to talk." 20 minutes later, I sat across from my best friend in our favorite dive bar, nursing a whiskey neat. "She threw a glass at you?" Charlie's eyes widened. "That's assault, Mal. You could press charges." I shook my head. "That would only prove her right about me being after their money." I took another sip, feeling the burn. "But I'm done playing nice. I'm done trying to fit into their perfect little world." "What are you thinking?" Charlie leaned forward, recognizing the look in my eyes. "Remember that startup idea we talked about? The sustainable packaging company? The one you've been sketching plans for since college?" I nodded, pulling out my phone and showing her the prototype designs I'd been working on. "I've been in talks with Ellis, that investor I told you about. He's interested, really interested. But you need space to work, to build prototypes," Charlie said, following my train of thought. "And with your savings tied up in the house renovation." A slow smile spread across my face. "You know what's funny? That massive mansion has a basement Vivian never uses. She thinks it's beneath her, literally, but it's perfect for a small-scale production setup." "Mal," Charlie warned, "that's playing with fire." "Good." I finished my drink. "It's time to fight fire with fire. I'm going to build my company right under her nose, and by the time she realizes what's happening, it'll be too late." My phone buzzed. Another text from Brett. Please come home. We can talk about this. I turned the phone face down. I'm done talking. From now on, I'm acting. And Vivian won't know what hit her until I'm standing in her precious mansion, holding the deed in my hand. You're serious about this? Charlie said, studying my face. Dead serious. I signaled for another drink. By next Christmas, everything's going to change, and I can't wait to see the look on her face when it does. What exactly are we looking at here? Ellis adjusted his glasses, studying the prototype on the basement workbench. 3 weeks had passed since the Christmas dinner disaster, and I'd transformed Vivian's forgotten basement into my secret workshop. The future of packaging, I said, demonstrating how the biodegradable container collapsed flat. No plastic, fully compostable, and it costs 40% less to ship than traditional boxes. Ah, and you developed this yourself? His eyes narrowed. Professional interest clearly piqued. With some help. I gestured to Anna, who stood nervously in the corner. Anna's background in materials science has been invaluable. We've filed 2 provisional patents already. The basement hummed with the sound of our small 3D printer, churning out another prototype. I'd smuggled in equipment piece by piece, telling the household staff I was setting up a home gym. They didn't question it. Nobody wanted to risk Vivian's wrath by seeming too curious. Impressive, Ellis said, setting the prototype down. But why work from a basement? With your background, you could easily rent proper office space. I glanced at the ceiling, hearing footsteps above. Let's just say I'm keeping overhead low for now. Mallory! Vivian's voice echoed from upstairs. Is someone down there with you? My heart jumped. Quick! I whispered to Ellis and Anna, through the side door. I'd discovered the old servants' entrance my first week here, hidden behind decades of storage boxes. Once they were safely out, I called back. Just me, Vivian, working out. The basement stairs creaked as she descended. I quickly threw a tarp over our workstation and grabbed a yoga mat. It smells strange down here, she said, wrinkling her nose. Like burning plastic. Probably the new exercise equipment. I stretched casually, hoping my business attire didn't look too out of place. You know how that new rubber smell can be? She ran a finger along a shelf, checking for dust. Brett tells me you've been spending a lot of time down here. It helps me think. I held the stretch, watching her inspect the space. Sometimes a woman needs her own territory. Territory? She laughed sharply. This is my house, dear. Everything here is my territory. My phone buzzed. A text from Ellis. Meeting set with major retailer, tomorrow, 9 a.m. Don't be late. I quickly pocketed the phone, but not before Vivian's sharp eyes caught the movement. Business calls during your workout? Just Charlie, I lied smoothly. Making plans for lunch. She lingered by the tarp-covered workspace. You know, I've been meaning to have this space renovated. Perhaps turn it into a wine cellar. My stomach tightened. That seems unnecessary. The wine cellar upstairs is barely half full. Nevertheless, she turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and dear, do try to keep the noise down. All this, exercising, is disturbing my afternoon tea. After she left, I immediately called Brett. He answered on the first ring. She's planning to renovate the basement, I said without preamble. I know, he sighed. She mentioned it at breakfast. I tried to talk her out of it, but you know how she gets when she has an idea. Brett, I need more time. The retailer meeting tomorrow could change everything. A pause. What retailer meeting? I hadn't told him about Ellis or the prototypes. The less he knew, the better, for both of us. Just trust me. Can you stall her? I'll try. He hesitated. Mal, what are you really doing down there? Building our future, I said. That's all you need to know right now. Later that evening, Charlie helped me move the most important equipment to her garage. This is getting dangerous, she said, setting down a box of prototypes. What happens when Vivian finds out? She won't, I said, but even I heard the uncertainty in my voice. Not until it's too late. My phone rang. Ellis again. The retailer pushed the meeting up. They want to see us tonight. I looked at my watch. 8:30 p.m. Tonight? Their VP is flying out tomorrow morning. It's now or never. I turned to Charlie. Can you finish here? I need to change and grab the presentation materials from the basement. Go, she said. I've got this. Racing back to the mansion, I slipped down to the basement one last time. As I gathered my files, I heard voices above. Vivian and Rodney. The renovation plans are ready, Rodney was saying. We can start as early as next week. Excellent, Vivian replied. It's time to remind everyone who really controls this house. I gripped my presentation folder tighter. We'll see about that, I whispered, slipping out through the servants' entrance into the night. The meeting could change everything. And if it did, Vivian's renovation plans would be the least of her worries. Because soon, very soon, I wouldn't just be fighting for space in her basement. I'd be fighting for the whole damn house. 1 million units? I stared at the purchase order, my hands trembling. You want 1 million units by next quarter? The VP across the table nodded, sliding her glasses up her nose. Your prototype impressed our sustainability team. If you can deliver, we'll roll out nationwide. 2 months had passed since that late-night meeting, and now I sat in a sleek corporate office, watching my dreams materialize into reality. But 1 million units? Our basement operation couldn't handle that. We'll deliver, I said firmly, signing the contract before doubt could creep in. Back at the mansion, I paced the basement, now crowded with 3 3D printers running constantly. Anna looked up from her laptop, dark circles under her eyes. We need a real facility, she said, voicing what I already knew. And more staff, and... A crash upstairs interrupted her. Heavy footsteps crossed the ceiling. Where is it? Vivian's voice carried through the floorboards. That antique vase was right here. I froze. The vase. We'd been using it to store polymer samples. Quick, I whispered to Anna. Pack everything essential. Use the side door. The basement door flew open. Mallory! Vivian's heels clicked on the stairs. Have you seen my... What in God's name? She stood at the bottom of the stairs, taking in the printers, the workbenches, the scattered prototypes. Her face went from confusion to fury in seconds. You've turned my basement into some sort of... factory? It's not what you think, I started, but she was already pulling out her phone. Brett, come down here immediately! Minutes later, Brett stood between us, his eyes wide as he took in the setup. Mal, what is all this? Your wife has been running an illegal operation in my house, Vivian spat. Using my electricity, my space, probably stealing my belongings. It's not illegal, I shot back. We have patents pending, contracts signed. Contracts? Brett turned to me. What contracts? A printer beeped, finishing another prototype. The sound seemed to snap Vivian out of her shock. I want all of this gone by tomorrow, she demanded. Every last piece. And you. She pointed at Anna, who was trying to slip toward the side door. You're fired. You can't fire her, I said. She doesn't work for you. She works for me. In my house. Actually, a new voice called from the stairs. We all turned to see Rodney descending, holding a thick folder. About the house. Not now, Rodney, Vivian snapped. I'm afraid this can't wait. He opened the folder. The bank called. They're concerned about the missed payments. The color drained from Vivian's face. That's private business. 3 months behind, Rodney continued. They're threatening foreclosure. Brett stepped forward. Mother? What's he talking about? Nothing. It's being handled. But I saw the truth in her eyes. The great Vivian, queen of her mansion, was drowning in debt. My phone buzzed. Ellis calling. I stepped away to answer, while Vivian and Brett argued. The funding came through, Ellis said without preamble. 20 million, ready to deploy. You've got your factory. I ended the call and turned back to the family drama unfolding in the basement. Vivian, I said quietly, we need to talk. There's nothing to discuss. I want you out. I just secured $20 million in funding. I can buy this house. Today. Cash offer. The basement fell silent. Brett looked between his mother and me, realization dawning on his face. This is what you've been working on? All those late nights? I nodded. I'm not just playing entrepreneur anymore, Vivian. I'm building something real. Something big. You planned this, she whispered. All of it. Using my own basement against me. No, I corrected her. I planned to succeed. Using your basement against you was just a bonus. Rodney cleared his throat. The bank wants an answer by Friday. Get out, Vivian said, her voice shaking. All of you. I need to think. As we climbed the stairs, Brett caught my arm. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have kept it from her if I had? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. Outside, Anna helped me load the last of our equipment into Charlie's waiting van. What now? She asked. I looked up at the mansion's windows, seeing Vivian's silhouette pacing in her study. Now we wait. She has until Friday to decide. Lose the house to the bank or sell it to me. And if she chooses the bank? I smiled, pulling out my phone to show her the contract from this morning. Then we use that 1,000,000-unit order to lease the biggest factory in town, the one right across from her country club. You're ruthless, Anna said, but she was grinning. No, I replied, watching Vivian's shadow move across the window. I'm just getting started. You have no right to be here, Vivian said, blocking the basement door. 3 days had passed since the confrontation, and time was running out. Actually, I do. I held up a document. Brett's name is on the deed too, and he gave me permission. She snatched the paper, scanning it with narrowed eyes. Brett, get down here. My husband appeared from his study, looking exhausted. The past few days had taken their toll on all of us. You signed this? Vivian waved the paper at him. It's her work, Mother. She needs to collect it before Friday. Friday? Vivian scoffed. When you think you'll own my house? When someone will own it, I corrected her. Either me or the bank. Your choice. She stepped aside, her lips pressed into a thin line. As I descended the stairs, I heard her mutter, I should have known better than to let a snake into my home. The basement was a mess. In her rage, Vivian had knocked over shelves and scattered our prototypes. But what caught my eye was the new addition. Architectural plans spread across my workbench. Wine cellar designs, Brett explained, following my gaze. She ordered them rushed. I picked up a blueprint, studying the extensive renovations. These would cost a fortune. Money she doesn't have, Brett said quietly. My phone buzzed. Anna's text read, Emergency at Charlie's garage. The new formula is reacting badly. I have to go, I said, gathering the last of our research materials. The offer stands until Friday noon, Vivian. After that, I'll make a deal with the bank directly. You really think you can run a company? Vivian called after me. You can't even keep your little basement operation secret. I paused on the stairs. Check your phone. What? Check your social media. Your country club friends have been busy sharing news about the newest sustainable packaging breakthrough. Our prototype video went viral last night. She fumbled with her phone, her face paling as she scrolled. You're trending? Welcome to the new world, Vivian. While you were planning wine cellars, I was planning the future. I drove to Charlie's garage fast, finding Anna in protective gear, examining a smoking prototype. The heat resistance isn't holding, she said, pointing to where the material had warped. We need to modify the formula before the retailer's deadline. How long? 3 days, maybe 4 with proper equipment. We have 2, I said, checking my calendar. The retailer's quality team arrives Friday morning. The same day as Vivian's deadline, Charlie noted, entering with coffee cups. My phone rang. Ellis. The factory lease is ready, he said. But there's a complication. Another buyer is interested in the mansion. My stomach dropped. Who? Can't say. But they're offering cash, just like you. Vivian needs to decide by tomorrow, not Friday. I ended the call and kicked a nearby box in frustration. Everything's falling apart, No, Anna said firmly, removing her safety goggles. We're too close. I'll work through the night on the formula. You handle Vivian. Back at the mansion, I found Rodney waiting in the driveway. There's another buyer, he said without preamble. I know. Who? He glanced around before lowering his voice. Your competitor? The one whose market share would vanish if your product launches. They want to shut you down before you start. Understanding hit me like a truck. They weren't after the house. They were after my company. I rushed inside, finding Vivian in her study with a real estate agent I didn't recognize. Whatever they're offering, I said, they'll destroy everything you've built. This house, your reputation, all of it. They're offering more than you, Vivian replied coolly. They're offering destruction. I'm offering partnership. That caught her attention. What? You have connections, Vivian. Social networks I couldn't access in years. Help me launch this properly, and I'll make you head of corporate relations. You expect me to work for you? In my own house? I expect you to help build something bigger than both of us. I pulled out my phone, showing her our latest market projections. This isn't about revenge anymore. This is about legacy. She studied the numbers, her expression unreadable. And Brett? Has always believed in this. In me. He just needed you to see it too. The real estate agent cleared his throat. Mrs. Collins, we need an answer. Vivian stood, walking to her window. The same window I'd watched her pace behind days ago. You really think you can pull this off? I already am. The question is, are you with me or against me? She turned, eyes meeting mine with the same steel I'd come to know so well. If we do this, we do it my way. Our way, I corrected. Partners. She nodded slowly, then faced the real estate agent. Tell your clients the house is no longer for sale. Family business. As the agent left, my phone buzzed again. Anna. Formula fixed. We did it. I showed Vivian the message. Ready to build an empire? Together, she said, extending her hand. God help us both. You can't seriously expect me to wear this. Vivian held up the recycled fabric company polo shirt like it was contaminated. The investors expect our entire leadership team in uniform, I explained, straightening my own matching shirt. It shows unity. 1 month into our partnership, and the mansion had transformed into our company headquarters. The basement now housed our R&D lab, while the formal dining room served as our conference center. I haven't worn polyester since 1982, she muttered, but slipped the shirt over her silk blouse anyway. Anna burst into the room, tablet in hand. They're here early. The investment team is pulling up now. Through the window, I watched 5 luxury cars roll up our circular driveway. Vivian, remember? Yes, yes. She waved her hand. Let you do the technical talking. I handle the social aspects. I've hosted charity galas for decades, dear. I think I can manage a few investors. But these weren't her usual country club friends. These were hardcore venture capitalists looking to multiply their money. Ellis met us at the door. They're asking about production scalability, and there are rumors our competitor is developing a similar product. Impossible, Anna said. Our formula is completely unique. The doorbell rang. Vivian straightened her shoulders, transforming instantly into the perfect hostess. Shall we? The next hour was a blur of presentations, questions, and facility tours. I walked the investors through our production plans, while Vivian charmed them with her signature mix of sophistication and business acumen. And the house? One investor asked during lunch. An unusual choice for headquarters. Heritage properties add value to modern brands, Vivian answered smoothly. We're not just selling products, we're selling a vision of sustainable luxury. I caught Brett's proud smile from across the room. He'd taken on the role of operations manager, finally stepping out of his mother's shadow. Then Anna's voice crackled through my earpiece. Emergency in the lab, now. Excuse me, I smiled at the investors. Vivian will show you our marketing strategy. In the basement lab, Anna stood over a smoking prototype. The competitor's formula. Look. She handed me a report. They didn't copy us. They found a different solution, a better one. My blood ran cold. How? Someone leaked our research. They improved on our weaknesses. The basement door opened, and Rodney slipped in. Bad news. Your competitor just filed a patent. They're claiming prior art. That's impossible, I said. We developed this first. They have documentation dating back 6 months. Falsified, Anna said. Has to be. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Selling the house would have been easier. Last chance to walk away. They're bluffing, I said, but doubt crept in. They have to be. Mallory! Vivian's voice carried down the stairs. The investors are asking about our patent protection. I looked at Anna. How fast can you modify the formula? A week, maybe less. But we'd have to restart testing. Do it! I turned to Rodney. Find out who leaked our research. Check everyone. Everyone? He glanced upward meaningfully. Everyone, I confirmed. Even Vivian. Even Brett. Upstairs, I found the investors looking concerned, while Vivian maintained her perfect smile. Patent situation is complex, I said smoothly. But we have something better than patents. We have innovation. And family, Vivian added, placing a hand on my shoulder. The gesture surprised me. It was the first time she'd shown public support. After the investors left, I found Brett in his office. We need to talk. About the leak? He didn't look up from his computer. I already know. How? He turned his screen toward me. Emails, dozens of them. Someone's been accessing our server from inside the house, late at night. Vivian? No. He pulled up a security camera feed. Look, the footage showed the basement at 3 a.m. A figure in the dark, photographing our documents. I can't make out who it is, I said, squinting. Keep watching. The figure turned, face catching the light. My heart stopped. Ellis, I whispered. But why? Because I hired him, Vivian said from the doorway. We turned to find her still in the company polo, but now her expression was fierce. 6 months ago, to watch you. You knew, all this time? She stepped into the office, closing the door. I knew someone was trying to steal my company's market share. I didn't know it was you, not until Christmas. So now what? I asked, hand tightening on the back of Brett's chair. Now? Vivian smiled, but it wasn't her usual cold smile. Now we show them what happens when they threaten our family business. Our family business? Unless you'd rather handle corporate espionage alone? I looked at Brett, who nodded slightly. What did you have in mind? Vivian pulled out her phone. Ellis isn't the only one who can play both sides. Remember all those charity galas I hosted? She showed us her contact list, a who's who of corporate power players. Time to call in some favors, she said. Nobody comes after my daughter-in-law's company. Nobody. Ellis just entered the building. Anna's voice crackled through my earpiece. He's heading to the 3rd-floor conference room. Right on schedule, Vivian said, adjusting her designer suit. 2 weeks of careful planning had led to this moment. Ready? I nodded, checking my reflection in the mansion's antique mirror. The power suit I wore belonged to Vivian, a peace offering that fit surprisingly well. Remember, Brett squeezed my hand. He doesn't know we know. The conference room had been staged perfectly. Prototype displays, market research boards, and a stunning view of the garden Vivian was so proud of. Ellis sat at the head of the table, examining documents we'd carefully selected for him to discover. Ellis! I forced brightness into my voice. Thank you for coming on such short notice. Of course. He smiled that snake charmer smile. Though I'm curious why you needed both me and your competitor at the same meeting. All will be explained, Vivian said smoothly, taking her seat. We're just waiting for... The door opened, and in walked Marcus, CEO of our biggest competitor. His face darkened when he saw Ellis. What is he doing here? Please sit. I gestured to the chair furthest from Ellis. We have something interesting to share. Anna entered with a stack of folders, distributing them silently. Marcus opened his and immediately went pale. These are internal documents, he sputtered. How did you— Interesting reading, Vivian cut in. Especially the parts about industrial espionage. My country club friends were fascinated. Ellis started to stand. This is ridiculous. I don't have to— Sit down. Brett's voice was quiet but firm as he blocked the door. You'll want to hear this part. I opened my laptop, turning it to face them. Security footage, email trails, bank transfers. Everything documenting your little scheme to steal our formula and backdate your patent. You can't prove anything, Marcus said, but his collar was damp with sweat. Actually, Vivian pulled out her phone. I just finished a lovely lunch with your board chairman's wife. She's appalled by this behavior. The board meeting tomorrow should be interesting. Ellis lunged for the folders, but Anna was faster, snatching them away. Here's what's going to happen, I said, keeping my voice level. You're going to withdraw your patent claim. Both of you will resign, effective immediately. Or what? Ellis sneered. Or, Vivian smiled her deadliest smile, I share these documents with every contact I've made in 40 years of social networking. Your careers won't just be over. They'll be radioactive. Marcus slumped in his chair. You're bluffing. Try me. Vivian held up her phone. I have your chairman's wife on speed dial, shall I? Wait. Ellis held up his hands. We can make a deal. We are making a deal, I corrected him. You're just not in a position to negotiate. The resignations are already drafted, Brett said, sliding papers across the table, along with NDAs protecting all parties. You planned this whole thing, Ellis said, staring at me. From the beginning. No, I smiled. We planned it together. I gestured to Vivian. Family business, remember? After they signed and left, looking shell-shocked, Anna burst out laughing. Did you see their faces when Vivian mentioned the chairman's wife? Speaking of, Brett turned to his mother. Did you really have lunch with her? Of course not, Vivian sniffed. Margaret's been in the Maldives for weeks, but they didn't know that. My phone buzzed. Our retail partner. The first shipment passed quality control. They want to double the order. Good thing we have that new factory space, Brett said. About that. Vivian straightened her jacket. I've been thinking. The mansion's grounds are extensive. We could build a state-of-the-art facility right here. Keep everything in the family, so to speak. I stared at her. You want to build a factory in your garden? Our garden, she corrected. Our factory, unless you object? No, I said slowly. No objections, just surprise. Good. Because I've already called the architects. She pulled out a folder of her own. I think you'll like these plans. The designs were incredible. A modern facility that somehow complemented the mansion's historic architecture. One condition, she added, we keep the rose garden. It's where Brett proposed to you, after all. I felt tears threatening. You knew about that? Of course I knew. I told him it was the perfect spot. She touched my arm briefly. I may have been slow to see your value, but I'm not blind. Brett wrapped an arm around me. So, partners? For real this time? Partners, Vivian agreed. Now, shall we discuss the launch party? I'm thinking we host it here. Show everyone what the new face of sustainable luxury looks like. Together, I said, looking around at my unlikely family. We show them together. Anna raised her coffee cup. To family business? To family, Vivian corrected, and for the first time, her smile reached her eyes. The roses are dying, Vivian announced, bursting into my office, formerly her sitting room. 6 months had passed since our showdown with Ellis, and construction on the new facility was well underway. What do you mean, dying? I looked up from quarterly reports. Come see for yourself. She practically dragged me to the garden, where workers in hard hats carefully maneuvered equipment around the beloved rose beds. She was right. The once vibrant flowers were wilting, their leaves yellowing. The construction must be affecting the soil, I said. This garden has been here for 40 years. Vivian's voice cracked slightly. Brett learned to walk here. You got engaged here. Before I could respond, Anna came running across the lawn, waving a tablet. We have a problem. The new biodegradable formula is doing too well. Too well? Vivian and I asked simultaneously. The retailers report the packaging is decomposing before products reach the shelves. We need to adjust the stability. I looked at the dying roses, then at the half-built factory behind them. Suddenly, I had an idea. What if we could solve both problems at once? I pulled out my phone, calling Brett. Remember that agricultural science course you took in college? The one Mother said was a waste of time? He laughed. What about it? Meet us in the garden. Bring your old textbooks. 2 hours later, we sat around the garden table, surrounded by soil samples and chemical breakdowns. So, Anna said slowly, if we modify the formula to include rose-derived compounds, the packaging becomes more stable, Brett finished, and the decomposition actually enriches the soil. Turn the waste into fertilizer, Vivian mused. Elegant solution. But we'd need more roses, I said. A lot more. Vivian stood up, surveying the grounds. The east lawn, it's just been sitting there since the tennis court fell apart. We could convert it into a rose nursery, I finished. Part of the factory complex. A living laboratory, Anna added excitedly. We could give tours, show the whole life cycle of our products. Brett pulled up property maps on his tablet. We'd need to reroute some of the construction. Do it, Vivian and I said together, then looked at each other in surprise. You know, Vivian said later, as we watched the construction team adjusting their plans. When you first married Brett, I thought you'd destroy everything I'd built. And now I realize you're building something I never could have imagined. She touched a wilting rose gently. Sometimes things have to break down to become something better. My phone buzzed, Charlie calling. Turn on the business news, now! We rushed inside, flipping on the massive TV in Vivian's study. A reporter stood outside our competitor's headquarters. Following the abrupt resignation of CEO Marcus Davis and senior executive Ellis Hoffman, shares have plummeted amid rumors of corporate espionage. Mother, Brett called from the doorway. The board chairman's wife is on the phone. She's back from the Maldives. Vivian smoothed her hair. Well, I suppose I should take that lunch date now. Play nice, I warned. She gave me a wicked smile. Dear, I always play nice. That's what makes me so dangerous. The next morning, Anna burst into our weekly strategy meeting. The modified formula works. The rose compounds are perfect. How long until we can scale up? Brett asked. That's the best part, she grinned. We can use the existing production line. Minimal retooling needed. Vivian pulled out her social calendar. The Garden Society's annual tour is in 3 months, if we time the nursery opening. Free publicity, I nodded. And instant credibility with the sustainability crowd. Speaking of publicity, Brett said, the trade magazines are calling. They want to know how a family-owned startup beat out a corporate giant. Tell them the truth, Vivian said, surprising us all. Tell them it's about legacy, about taking what's old and making it new again. Like turning a formal garden into a bio-research facility, I teased. Like turning a mother-in-law into a business partner, she countered, then grew serious. You know, I never apologized for the things I said at Christmas. Water under the bridge. No, she insisted. I was wrong. About you, about everything. You didn't destroy my legacy. You gave it purpose. Brett cleared his throat. Should we tell her now? I nodded, pulling out an ultrasound photo. We're adding to that legacy. Vivian's hands flew to her mouth. You're due in winter, I confirmed. Around Christmas, actually. She studied the photo, then looked up at the garden, visible through the window, where workers were carefully transplanting the first roses to their new home. Well, she said finally, her voice thick with emotion, I suppose we'll need to add a children's garden to those plans, for the next generation of innovators. Together? I asked. She squeezed my hand. Together. Outside, the roses swayed in the breeze, their wilted petals falling to make way for new growth. Push! Brett encouraged, gripping my hand as another contraction hit. I am pushing! I growled through gritted teeth. Where's Vivian? Right here, dear. She appeared at my other side, looking uncharacteristically disheveled. The board meeting can wait. Some things are more important. The winter sun streamed through the hospital window as I brought our daughter into the world. Outside, snow dusted the rose gardens we'd cultivated at the mansion, now thriving thanks to our revolutionary fertilizer system. She's perfect, Brett whispered, cradling our newborn. Look at those eyes. Rose, I said softly. Her name is Rose. Vivian dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Your mother would have loved that name. A knock at the door revealed Anna, carrying a prototype package. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. Now? Brett asked incredulously. Now, Anna confirmed, opening the package to reveal a stunning display of preserved roses. The new packaging kept these fresh for 3 weeks, no refrigeration needed. I laughed, then winced. You're showing me business results while I'm in a hospital bed? She's a natural, Vivian approved. Speaking of which, she pulled out her tablet. The Garden Society wants to feature our bio-integration facility in their spring showcase. Mother, Brett warned, not the time. Actually, I adjusted myself in the bed. I'd like to hear this. The old guard finally understands what we're building, Vivian continued. Not just sustainable packaging, but a whole new way of thinking about legacy. Baby Rose chose that moment to cry, and Brett gently placed her in my arms. As I soothed her, I noticed Vivian watching us with an unfamiliar expression. What? I asked. I was just thinking about that Christmas dinner, she said, when I threw that wine glass at you. The one that missed? I smiled. I never missed, dear. I wasn't aiming to hit. She straightened her blazer. I was testing your resolve, and look what you've built since then. Anna's phone buzzed. The stock price just hit a new high. The market loves our rose-based technology. Of course they do, Vivian said proudly. It's elegant, practical, and beautiful, just like my granddaughter. A nurse entered with paperwork. Mrs. Collins? Which Mrs. Collins? She looked between Vivian and me. Both, we answered simultaneously, then laughed. You know, I said, watching Vivian sign the forms with her characteristic flourish, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad you threw that glass. Oh? It made me angry enough to prove you wrong, and humble enough to accept when you were right. Brett took Rose for her first feeding, while Anna and Vivian discussed the spring showcase plans. Looking at them, my family, my team, I felt a completeness I'd never expected. The contractors finished the nursery renovation, Brett mentioned. Mother insisted on adding a small desk. A desk? I raised an eyebrow at Vivian. Every CEO needs to start somewhere, she shrugged. I started in my father's study. Rose can start in her mother's garden. Speaking of gardens, Anna interjected, the first commercial harvest from our rose fields is ready. The sustainability blogs are calling us revolutionary. Revolutionary is good, I nodded, but sustainable is better. Like family, Vivian said softly, touching Rose's tiny hand. The strongest things grow slowly with deep roots. A text from Charlie lit up my phone. Ellis spotted at airport, leaving country. Good riddance, Vivian muttered, reading over my shoulder, though I almost miss having enemies to outsmart. Don't worry, I assured her. I'm sure we'll find new challenges. Together? Brett asked, returning Rose to my arms. Together, Vivian confirmed. All of us. Rose yawned, her tiny fingers curling around my hospital bracelet. Outside, snow continued to fall on our gardens, where roses slept beneath the frost, waiting for spring. You know what the best revenge is? I asked, looking at my daughter's peaceful face. Success? Anna suggested, Family, Vivian corrected. Both, I said, building something so beautiful that those who tried to stop you can only watch from a distance. Vivian picked up her designer bag, ready to head back to the office, but she paused at the door, turning back with an uncharacteristic softness in her expression. "Welcome to the family, Rose," she said. "The real one, not the one I pretended we were, but the one your mother taught us to be." As she left, Brett squeezed my hand. "Ready to go home?" I looked at my daughter, thinking of the mansion with its gardens and laboratories, its history and future all growing together. "We are home," I said, "all of us." Outside, the first hints of sunset painted the snow-covered roses gold, promising another day of growth, challenge, and possibility. Just the way we liked it.